From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aishah Ashraf. A major shift in U.S. public opinion. A new PEW poll shows most Americans now view Israel unfavorably, with growing opposition to the Gaza war and strong rejection of Trump's plan to take over the territory. Details and more stories coming up in today's show, so stay tuned. Meanwhile, the International Court of Justice will hold public hearings on Israel's obligations in the occupied Palestinian territories from April 28th to May 2nd at The Hague. Representatives from 40 states and 4 international organizations will take part in the hearings, which will be held at the Peace Palace. The case focuses on Israel's actions and their impact on the United Nations and other international bodies operating in Palestinian areas. Countries joining include Palestine, South Africa, China, Russia, Turkey, Pakistan, Brazil, and Ireland. Organizations like the UN, the Arab League, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation will also participate. The African Union was allowed an extension to submit its views after the deadline. Israel is facing increasing legal pressure. It is already under investigation for alleged genocide in Gaza, where it has killed more than 62,000 Palestinians since October 2023. The International Criminal Court has also issued arrest warrants against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for alleged war crimes in Gaza. Israel is not scheduled to make an oral submission in the ICJ hearings. The proceedings will be open to the public. Israeli attacks have killed at least 19 Palestinians in Gaza since dawn on Thursday, medical sources say. In Khan Yunis, an Israeli airstrike hit a tent for displaced people, killing 2 and injuring several in Al-Qarara town. A child was also killed by Israeli shelling in the Al-Fukhari area of Khan Yunis. Another person died in Israeli airstrike on a tent in central Gaza, according to Wafa news agency. Overnight, Israel shelled several areas across Gaza, including Rafah, Khan Yunis, Gaza City, and Beit Lahya. Al Jazeera reports that 45 Palestinians were killed on Wednesday, including 35 in a bombing on Baghdad Street in Shuja'iyah. More than 80 people are missing under the rubble. Civil defense says 8 women and 8 children were among the dead, with more than 85 people injured. Meanwhile, 1,000 Israeli Air Force reservists have called for the immediate return of hostages, urging an end to the war. In Gaza, the health ministry issued an urgent plea for medicine as hospitals face critical shortages due to Israel's blockade. Israel released 80 Palestinians detained in Gaza, with 10 needing urgent medical care. Israel also freed Ahmed Manasra after 10 years in prison. He was arrested at age 13 and was allegedly tortured. Israel's defense minister says troops are seizing large areas in Gaza. The Palestinian Health Ministry says Israel has killed at least 62,000 Palestinians and wounded 115,729 in its genocide in Gaza since October 2023. The Israeli army's renewed deadly assault from March 18th, after it broke the ceasefire agreement, has killed nearly 1,500 Palestinians and injured 3,700 others. The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Israel wounded at least 14 Palestinians with gunfire during a raid on the Balaqqa refugee camp in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinian Health Ministry said 2 of the wounded are in critical condition, with 7 others moderately hurt. The Palestine Red Crescent Society treated 50 cases of tear gas suffocation and 5 cases of beatings. Among the wounded were 4 teenagers aged 15 and 16 years old. A 14-year-old boy was also hospitalized after being hit in the face by tear gas canister. 2 journalists were among dozens who suffocated after Israeli forces fired tear gas during the raid. Witnesses say Israeli troops stormed the camp at dawn, forced families to flee, and turned homes into military posts. Meanwhile, Israeli forces demolished 5 Palestinian homes in the West Bank on Thursday, claiming they lacked building permits. The International Court of Justice ruled last July that Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories is illegal and called for the evacuation of Israeli settlements. Tensions remain high in the West Bank. Israel has killed nearly 1,000 Palestinians there since October 2023 and continues to raid civilian homes. A new PEW Research Center poll shows that most Americans now hold unfavorable views of Israel. 53% of U.S. adults say they view Israel negatively, up from 42% in 2022. Those with very unfavorable views have nearly doubled to 19%. The divide is deeply partisan. 69% of Democrats view Israel negatively compared to 37% of Republicans. Among younger Republicans, views are almost evenly split. The poll was conducted in late March, just before Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to Washington. Only 32% of Americans say they have confidence in him. Support for what PEW called Israel's war in Gaza is also falling. 54% now say the war is important to them personally, down from 65% in January. Meanwhile, less than half of Americans, 46%, believe a two-state solution is possible. On President Donald Trump's proposal for the U.S. to take over Gaza and relocate Palestinians, 62% of Americans oppose it, with 49% strongly against the idea. Only 15% support it. 41 anti-protest bills have been introduced in 22 states across the U.S. since the start of 2025. Experts say the bills target peaceful protesters speaking out against Israel's U.S.-backed genocide in Gaza and the climate crisis. The International Center for Not-for-Profit Law says this year's numbers in 3 months are already close to last year's total. 32 bills were introduced after Trump returned to the White House in 16 states. 5 federal bills also target college students, anti-war protesters, and climate activists. Experts warned the moves threaten First Amendment rights, putting free speech, assembly, and petition at serious risk. The U.S. will now screen immigrants' social media posts to check for what it considers anti-Semitic content. It is not clear what that constitutes. In many cases, any criticism of Israeli actions will be construed as anti-Semitism, no matter how valid. The new policy applies to those seeking permanent residency, foreign students, and university affiliates. The Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, says the move aims to bolster national security and stop supporters of what it claims is anti-Semitic violence or terrorism. Groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and Yemen's Houthis were named as anti-Semitic terrorist organizations. Support for these groups could lead to visa denials or deportations. DHS says there is no room in America for terrorist sympathizers. Officials have warned that advocating for anti-Semitic violence under the First Amendment will not be tolerated. The decision follows executive orders issued by President Donald Trump to combat anti-Semitism. It also comes amid a broader crackdown on students and academics advocating for the end of Israel's genocide in Gaza. Recent cases include the detention of Turkish doctoral student Rumeysa Öztürk from Tufts University and Columbia University Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil. Öztürk was on a student visa and Khalil was a legal permanent resident in the U.S. Rights groups say the new policy violates free speech protections. Muslim inmates in Oregon win the right to celebrate Eid on the correct day thanks to a major legal push by CAIR, a step forward for religious freedom behind bars. This and more coming up next. The Council on American-Islamic Relations Legal Defense Fund has scored a major win for Muslim men jailed in Oregon. The Council on American-Islamic Relations Legal Defense Fund has scored a major win for Muslim men jailed in Oregon. Inmates at a state correctional facility were finally able to celebrate Eid al-Fitr on the correct date this year based on moon sighting. Previously, the facility marked Eid on a pre-designated day, often the nearest Friday. This Ramadan, CAIR stepped in, sending a legal demand letter to the facility. The move worked, and the facility confirmed Muslim prisoners celebrated Eid properly on March 31st. CAIR senior litigation attorney Justin Sadowski says Muslims deserve the right to observe their most important holidays. He praised the Oregon Department of Corrections for taking their duty seriously. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order aimed at blocking state and local climate change laws. The order directs Attorney General Pam Bondi to identify and act against laws and funds targeting carbon penalties or taxes. Trump claims such state actions threaten Americans' energy dominance. The order mainly targets Democratic-led states like California, New York, and Vermont. It criticizes New York for imposing billions in fines on traditional energy companies. The American Petroleum Institute welcomed the move. Trump's team called New York's climate fines extortion and said California's cap-and-trade policy punishes carbon use. They argue these policies raise energy prices, disrupt supply reliability, and lower living standards nationwide. Bondi has been told to challenge any state laws seen as unconstitutional or conflicting with federal authority. The Trump administration says state climate laws unfairly hurt the energy sector. Trump has long dismissed climate change, calling it a Chinese hoax, despite global scientific warnings. Researchers say urgent action is needed to cut greenhouse gas emissions to avoid a dangerous rise in world temperatures. Trump's order is expected to spark legal battles with states committed to fighting climate change. A Delaware judge has ruled that Newsmax aired false and defamatory claims against Dominion voting systems after the 2020 U.S. presidential election. Judge Eric Davis said Dominion showed clear evidence that Newsmax broadcast false information damaging the company's reputation. He noted that Newsmax even admitted some falsehoods in a 2020 clarification. Dominion's lawyers argue the false claims link the company to crimes and foreign dictators, causing serious business losses. The case, set to go to trial later this month, will let a jury decide if Newsmax acted with actual malice. If Newsmax knew the information was false or ignored the truth, the jury could determine how much in damages Dominion should get. This ruling follows a similar defamation case Dominion filed against Fox News, which ended in a $787.5 million settlement. Newsmax denies any wrongdoing, saying it covered the story fairly and will defend itself vigorously at trial. The case comes at a crucial time for Newsmax. Its founder, Chris Ruddy, recently celebrated a $1 billion IPO, but the company now faces major financial pressure. Newsmax must also meet a $40 million settlement with another voting tech firm, Smartmatic, by June 30th. China slammed President Donald Trump's escalating trade war, saying it will end in failure for the U.S. Beijing's 84% tariffs on U.S. imports kicked off on Thursday, hours after Trump hiked tariffs on Chinese goods to 125%. While Trump paused steep tariffs on other countries, he kept China under tough measures after Beijing refused to back down. China's foreign ministry said it does not want to fight, but will not fear continued U.S. threats. The clash deepens tensions between the world's two largest economies. British royal family member and the younger son of King Charles, Prince Harry, has received a chilling threat from Al-Qaeda calling for his murder. His lawyer told the High Court on Thursday the terror group claimed that Harry's death would allegedly please the Muslim community. No date was given for the threat in Harry's legal submission. The threat surfaced after his taxpayer-funded bodyguards were withdrawn following Megxit. Megxit is a term the UK press has used to describe the decision by Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan Markle, to step back from their roles as senior members of the British royal family in January. They plan to split their time between the UK and North America, seek financial independence, and take on fewer royal duties. In 2023, Harry admitted in his memoir, Spare, that he killed 25 Taliban fighters while serving in Afghanistan, describing them as chess pieces. The confession reportedly triggered multiple death threats, raising fresh concerns over his security. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.